All right. You are now done with the writing goals, and now we are getting on to brainstorming an essay. Now, when it comes to these videos, I'm gonna make them as I don't want to use the word vague or general, but I want to make them universal, so that way this can work for any essay that you have to write in the future, not just one that you're writing for me this year. Okay. With everything, make sure you know who your teacher is, so then that way you're able to write your essay for that teacher, because usually that teacher is your audience. We're going to try to have a different audience for these, or you're going to write it for a different audience. So kind of keep that in mind as we get going here, okay? So, just with that being said, let's start here with step one, okay? So, now, when it comes to step one here, there's kind of two types of essays that you can write. One is going to be very specific to the essay question that you are given by a teacher, professor, whomever it might be. The other one is more open-ended, and that's what this one kind of is. This one is open-ended. As long as it fits into that criteria of it's an argument, which means that there is a counter argument or there is a counterclaim to your perspective, and it's not something that everyone agrees with, then it works, okay? So when it comes to this, if there is an essay question, so right here, if there is an essay question, you're going to find that question, and then you're going to answer that question in 1 to 2 sentences. Basically, what this means is you're going to take the question and you're going to turn it into a statement. So, for example, so if the question is, if I had everyone talking about wearing hats in Northama, because, look at that right there. The question might be, do you believe that students should be able to wear hats in Northama? You can answer that 1 of 2 ways. You can answer yes or no, basically, but don't just say yes or no, or don't just say, don't just say yes, I believe. So you don't answer the question with like a yes or no in it. It was a yes or no question. Instead, you just kind of make it into a statement that is your own and that works. And we'll talk about thesis statement writing later on, okay? So that is if you have the essay question. If you don't have the essay question, if it is more open-ended, this is where you're going to be thinking about something that you're passionate about, but something that maybe you want to have fixed. Maybe it is something that you think is wrong and that you want to be right. Maybe it is something that you enjoy and you want other people to enjoy it. All of those things are persuasive argument pieces, okay? So, for this one, think about some of the things that are going on in the schools. Think about some of the things that are going on in the community. Or things that you think need to be changed. And then you can write an essay. And I'm using the word essay here. We can get rid of that because it doesn't have to be writing. It doesn't have to be in its final form a writing piece. If you want to do a podcast, if you want to do a video, if you want to do a speech, then those are also forms of persuasive writing. They're just given in a different way, okay? So, again, either one of these things, the answer to it is, I'm bad at drawing arrows. That's my bad. Both of these will lead to your thesis statement writing. Okay, when you're writing your paper, when you're making your podcast, you're gonna have a thesis statement. You're gonna have some sort of claim there that you are gonna make, and so that will lead to that, and that'll lead to that thesis statement. Okay. Step number 2, and this is where it gets a little bit different now. So you have your idea over here. Maybe it is hats in school. Maybe it is, a rule at North Tama. Maybe it is getting a skate park in the city of Traer. Whatever it might be. Okay? Now you gotta come up with just kind of the reasons that are off the top of your head. I mean, if you feel a certain way, if you're passionate about it, then chances are you already know some of the reasons why you believe that should be a thing, that should happen, whatever your opinion on the matter is, okay? Each of these should have multiple pieces of evidence later on that you're going to do research on to prove that your answer is correct. It's not enough just to say because and give a reason. You have to then back up that reason with evidence, and you will talk about evidence on a later video, okay? So that is step 2. And later on, when you're writing this, these will make up your body paragraphs. These will make up your essay paragraphs, or they'll make up the meat and potatoes of your speech. It'll make up the body of your video, of your podcast, whatever you are going to make, okay? This then is going to lead us down here to step number 3. And you don't necessarily have to do this yet. This is just going to come from some research later on, okay? And it might require a little bit of research at this point, and here is why. I'm going to kind of backtrack what I just said there. You are going to be doing a little bit of research because here's the reason why. Let's say you have this opinion in your head that you're like, okay, I don't have any reasons for it right now, but I think it should happen. So now I'm going to go look up some evidence to figure out why I believe that. If you figure out very quickly that there's not a lot of evidence out there, that there is not a lot of facts, not a lot of evidence in general out there for you to use, then chances are that your essay, your podcast, your speech is going to be weak. It's going to be not the best. And so it's kind of just a basic first 10 things on Google kind of research, just to make sure that what you're saying, that what you're predicting, what you're thinking about is accurate or can be argued. If it's going to be tough to argue, you can still do it, but if it's someone that's kind of universally heckled, universally not praised, then you might want to think about something else for your opinion piece, okay? Now, this initial research and then the research later on will go in those paragraphs. We'll talk more later on about that, but these are going to be kind of the reasons for the paragraphs, and these down here are going to be the ways that your paragraphs are being backed up. You can't just say a reason and then move on without giving me any facts or evidence to support it, okay? Now, here are some other tips, okay? Can your answer change after you start writing? Yes, absolutely. I was going to say you're doing initial research there in step 3, but you will do more research later on, obviously. And you'll do deeper research. And maybe one of your reasons or maybe your big idea, your big thesis is okay, but your claims below it are not, or might need to be changed or altered because they're weak, or you have better ones that fit better, okay? That's totally okay. Do that. What kind of ways should you organize your brainstorm? I'm going to have kind of a mini one for you, but when you're working on your own, find one that works for you. Outlines are pretty good. Mind maps are pretty good. If you like the circles with the lines, around it, go with that. I think one of the things that students they're a little too reliant on the teacher giving them an outline, a teacher giving them a mind map, and that's going to be very ironic coming from what I'm about to just do and give you one. But Mine's going to be so kind of broad right now that when you're outlining and when you're brainstorming, when you're organizing your research, I'm going to give you some ways to do that, but it's going to be up to you. It's going to be at the end of the day, you got to figure out what works for you. And then take that to all your other English classes. Take it to your science classes. Take it to your history classes. Take it to your math classes. Because if you can find a way that your brain works and your brain organizes things, then that's good. Mind maps for me, I already know beyond a shadow of a doubt that mind maps don't work for me. Okay? My brain does not work in that way where I see a circle like this, and then I see a line come off it there and a line come off it there. To me, it just looks like a spider, and I don't like spiders. So I'm someone that I've learned I use an outline very, very well. Okay? Now, here's going to be kind of the kicker. I think there's going to be some of you who are going to go, well, I don't need any of this so I don't need an outline and I don't need a mind map because you're not telling me I need one. I'm telling you you need one, but the way that you do it is going to be up to you. Okay? You do need a way to organize your stuff. You do need a outline, brainstorm, whatever it is to kind of organize your thoughts. So that way if you have, 3 of these circles here and you have all the lines coming off it, I'm not going to draw it all, but okay, this is one paragraph right here, and I know that everything on these lines fits what's ever inside here. And then I know that this is one paragraph or 2 paragraphs or whatever it is, and I know that everything that is on these lines has to kind of fit in with what's going on in there. So it's a good way to organize your thoughts, and it's a good way to get ready to write. It's a good way to get ready to write, okay? So I have made you one already, but it's not like anything that is set in stone, and you can add on to it, okay? So this is what it is, okay? So you are going to fill out this activity, and it's very, very generic right now. It's basically step 1 and probably step 2. Step 3, not done yet. You'll do a little bit of research later on, and you can change always, but just know that this is probably just step 1, step 2, the brainstorming, okay? So right here, in this one, you are going to talk about what you want to talk about. So this one's going to be kind of a broader topic. So, for example, let's say, I don't know what I want to write about yet, but I want to write about horses. I like horses. And so I want to write about horses. Okay? Now, coming down here. Well, can't do that, I guess. Hang on. Okay, so my topic is about horses. Well, when it comes to horses and when it comes to persuasive writing, I could write about a number of things down here. So, for example, I could talk about horse racing. Like prairie meadows and other horse racing tracks. Like, that's not good for a horse. And I could try to persuade people to not let horses, do horse racing, maybe, and then you could talk about how it's bad for the horses, it's bad for the economy, blah, 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 blah. Okay? So there's that one. Maybe I could write about what are some other issues with horses. Maybe there is something to do with, riding with a saddle on. I'm kind of grasping at straws here. But maybe there is something about saddles, okay? That could be its own separate essay compared to this one. And then I could think of a third, thing about maybe about glue. I don't want my horses to be in my Elmers. And so I could write about that. So they would be 3 different essays. The question's going to be, which direction are you going to go with it, okay? So if you're going to talk about, and maybe yours is hats, okay? Well, I could write something, on this one about something at North Tama. I could write this one maybe about hats in The military will say maybe they can't wear hats, and maybe this one is just kind of, maybe the school should, or maybe the North Tama esports team should buy hats. 3 different topics down here, but each one could be its own persuasive writing, okay? So, step 1 here, topic. 2, whittle it down to the thing that you want to talk about. Step 3, who is your audience going to be? When it comes to this one, think about who could make the changes or who could be the one to help you get your persuasion up and running. Hey, we're talking about North Tama hats, and guess what? You're talking to the school board because Meister can't control any of that. It's in the handbook. The handbook is done by the school board. So that would be a presentation or a speech for the school board. Okay? If you want a skate park here in Traer, that's not going to be the school. Instead, that's going to be, city council or whatever it is. Maybe you just want people to be aware of a situation or aware of something. So maybe it's the general public. And so figure out who do you want your audience to be, because that's going to affect the form. Okay? That's going to affect the way that you present the information, which is this one right here. So what form do you see your argument going to be taken? And it can change, obviously, but think about your audience and think about this one and kind of go that route with it, okay? So you have this brainstorm to work on, and then when you're done with this, go on to video number 3.